Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to see you all here. I see a lot of old faces, of old friends, and I see a lot of new faces as well, which is very nice, and we're very happy about that. I want to apologize for the late start because of some congestion at the registration. But without any further delays, I would like to start this opening session with some opening remarks from our host organizations, and I would like to start with the representative of the mayor of the city of Barcelona, the deputy mayor, Ms. Janet Sanz. She will give us some welcoming remarks. Would you like to stay there or would you like to come here? Okay, thank you.
Buenos días a todos y a todas. En primer lugar, me gustaría trasladaros la bienvenida a nuestra ciudad, a la ciudad de Barcelona. Para nosotros, para toda la ciudad, para el Gobierno municipal, es todo un privilegio poder acoger la sede global de la Global Water Operators Partnership Alliance desde el 2012 y poder celebrar por segunda vez su congreso bianual, congreso y sede que esperamos, y así trabajaremos para que suceda, que se consolide en esta ciudad, en Barcelona. También me gustaría dar una especial salutación a todos los operadores públicos del agua, grandes o pequeños, del sur o del norte, que han venido a este congreso a poder intercambiar conocimiento y colaborar en garantizar el acceso universal al agua y al saneamiento. También nos alegramos de dar la bienvenida a organizaciones de la sociedad civil, que sabemos que están participando también aquí, a los trabajadores y trabajadoras de todo el mundo que también han acudido a esta cita. Es crucial vuestra participación en el diseño de las políticas públicas, contar con todas las voces y con todos los actores desde el principio del diseño de estas políticas públicas en relación a un recurso escaso, a un derecho básico y sobre todo a un derecho humano. Y es bien conocida en la historia del agua pues la fuerte vinculación con la gobernanza, con la inclusión y con la democracia que tiene la implicación de todos estos actores en el marco del diseño de estas políticas públicas. También me gustaría dar las gracias a Unite Habitat y especialmente a su presidenta, Joan Clos, por impulsar esta crucial alianza que además nos permite vincular y trabajar de una forma integral la planificación urbanística y la gestión y la accesibilidad a los servicios públicos, dos elementos que están íntimamente ligados. También al Gobierno español y concretamente a la agencia por su contribución a que tengamos la sede, como decía, aquí en Barcelona. Como también expresaba al principio, para nosotros es un privilegio poder celebrar este congreso aquí en la ciudad porque nos sentimos plenamente representados y reconocidos en los principios rectores que motivan, que fijan el rumbo de esta alianza. Las colaboraciones sin fines de lucro entre diferentes operadores de agua, también la participación de la ciudadanía, como decía, en la hora de tejer, de diseñar estas políticas públicas y también pues, la implicación de los trabajadores, así como también principios como la solidaridad y la transparencia, entre otros. Creemos que estos principios no deben solo formar únicamente parte de actuaciones marco de la cooperación internacional, sino que deben formar parte también del día a día de la función pública, de aquellas iniciativas, de aquella forma de gobernar, ¿no?, que tienen que desarrollar las instituciones, los gobiernos, ya sean locales, ya sean regionales, ya sean estatales. Y, por tanto, el compromiso también es nuestro como gobierno local de poder seguir desarrollando en base a estos principios rectores una mejor administración de todo aquello que gobernamos a nivel público. También nos gustaría aprovechar, ¿no?, para felicitar, porque entre todos todos tenemos mucho que ver, ¿no? Tiene mucho que ver que se haya podido desarrollar aquella iniciativa que se impulsó ya hace un par de años, la Iniciativa Ciudadana del Agua, que gracias a una gran movilización ciudadana logró concretamente que el Parlamento Europeo aprobara, hace bien poco, el reconocimiento explícito del derecho humano al agua y situara, por tanto, el agua fuera de las leyes de mercado y de los tratados de libre comercio. El siguiente paso deberá ser también que se incluya, por tanto, dentro de la política europea las colaboraciones con los operadores públicos de agua, ¿no? Este sería para nosotros el siguiente paso que nos permitiría, por tanto, avanzar en la garantía, en poder generar esta garantía de acceso universal al agua, de derecho universal, derecho humano al agua. Queremos también resaltar que para el Ayuntamiento de Barcelona es un placer poder participar en un panel posterior con autoridades locales, porque desde Cataluña, ¿no?, principalmente también a través del Fondo Catalán de Cooperación al Desarrollo, pero también desde España existe una larga tradición en cooperación descentralizada, impulsada precisamente por los ayuntamientos, por los municipios, que han recogido a lo largo de muchos años una experiencia y conocimiento que creemos que es muy importante que pueda ser compartida con todos ustedes. Hoy, por ejemplo, el Ayuntamiento está impulsando una colaboración con la ciudad de Belém. Creemos que es muy interesante este tipo de colaboraciones y además tenemos más de 100 trabajadores que están participando en diferentes proyectos de cooperación con diferentes también ciudades. Y nos gustaría incrementar todo este trabajo a través de la colaboración que se puede establecer en el marco del diálogo que hoy también estaremos trabajando en este congreso. Por tanto, yo creo que nos encontramos con un programa muy rico en contenidos que no solo aborda los principales retos del sector y fomenta el intercambio de buenas prácticas, sino que además también reflexiona sobre cuál es el papel, cuál debe ser el papel de la gestión pública de un bien, como decía, tan escaso, tan básico, un derecho humano como es el agua en el futuro. Así que espero que sea muy provechoso para todos vosotros, para nosotros sin ninguna duda lo será y os animo además que disfrutéis de nuestra ciudad, que os sintáis muy bien acogidos y espero que nos podamos ver también próximamente. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Janet, for the nice words and for the commitments that you expressed for involvement and further involvement with us. I would like to give the floor now to Ms. Laura Lopez de Serain Salsamendi, sorry, the Director of Multilateral and Financial Cooperation from IESID, the Spanish International Cooperation Agency. Laura, please, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días. La verdad que me da mucho gusto, es un placer estar aquí hoy representando al Gobierno de España a través de la Agencia Española de Cooperación Internacional para el Desarrollo en este tercer congreso que, como ya ha dicho la representante del Ayuntamiento, creemos verdaderamente que tiene un enfoque muy práctico, muy de intercambiar experiencias, de poner casos de todo el mundo en común para aprender y poder sacar enseñanzas de futuro. Yo estoy aquí representando, como digo, a la cooperación española porque para la cooperación española el sector del agua y saneamiento es básico. Es ahora y lo ha sido en el pasado y esperemos y seguro que lo seguirá siendo en el futuro. El Plan Director de la Cooperación Española, vigente ahora, se aprobó en el año 2013 y está vigente hasta el año 2016, contempla el sector del agua y saneamiento como una de sus líneas estratégicas básicas para muchas de las intervenciones que hacemos en muchos de los países del mundo. Y eso, por supuesto, a partir del enfoque del derecho humano, en el que, como sabemos, España ha tenido una implicación y un compromiso muy evidente. Desde luego, sabemos que el agua y su gestión sostenible son esenciales para muchos fines. la salud, el bienestar humano, la producción de alimentos y de energía, el desarrollo social y económico, la protección y manutención de ecosistemas sanos, la reducción del riesgo de desastres. Todo influye y atiende a los factores básicos para la erradicación de la pobreza. El agua es vida. El agua y el saneamiento, que muchas veces nos quedamos solo con la parte de agua, pero todos sabemos, y ustedes mejor que yo, que el saneamiento es uno de los retos de futuro fundamentales. Porque efectivamente el agua, siendo fuente de vida, es un recurso limitado. Hay que saber gestionarlo y por eso los operadores evidentemente tienen un papel fundamental. También es cierto que se ha avanzado mucho en los últimos años. Los datos nos dicen que estamos trabajando en la buena dirección, pero también seguimos sabiendo que hoy más de un tercio de la población mundial no utilizan instalaciones de saneamiento mejoradas y que todavía más de 700 millones de personas carecen de acceso a fuentes mejoradas de agua para el consumo. En la Agenda Post-2015, que se va a aprobar en los próximos días, la próxima semana, ya se va a aprobar, como ustedes saben, los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible y hay un objetivo específico de agua y saneamiento. Esto ha sido una postura clara del Gobierno de España, que en los últimos años ha trabajado con ese enfoque de conseguir un ODS específico para agua y saneamiento, definido con criterios de gobernanza, desde un enfoque basado en derechos humanos, y sobre la base de la planificación hidrológica por cuenca, participación pública, seguridad jurídica, gestión integrada de los recursos y las infraestructuras hidráulicas, físicas y tecnológicas. De hecho, todas las intervenciones que la ECID promueve e impulsa en el sector deben diseñarse con un enfoque integral y multisectorial y se enmarcan en 3 líneas estratégicas: la gestión integral de recursos hídricos, acceso al agua y al saneamiento y gobernanza y derecho humano al agua. En los últimos 25 años, la cooperación española ha apoyado muchísimos proyectos del sector de agua y saneamiento a través de muchos instrumentos y dirigidos a muchos tipos de instituciones. Hemos invertido más de 2.000 millones en proyectos y programas de agua en más de 80 países, mejorando, por consiguiente, la calidad de vida y la dignidad de millones de personas. Hemos colaborado con ONGs españolas y sus contrapartes locales, que, como saben, son muy activas y muy especializadas. En España tenemos la suerte de tener un tejido asociativo muy rico, un tejido de cooperación también muy rico, que trabaja con mucho rigor y mucha profesionalidad en cada uno de los sectores donde se dirige, y agua es un ejemplo clarísimo. También trabajamos en el ámbito internacional, porque efectivamente hablar de la cuestión de agua en desarrollo es hablar de la agenda global y tenemos que tener una visión amplia. Por eso trabajamos con organismos internacionales, por eso apoyamos ONU Habitat a través de WOPA y a través de otros instrumentos, y también trabajamos con PNUD dentro del marco del Fondo ODM, un nuevo fondo que hemos sacado, el Fondo de Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible. Con la OCDE también hemos sido muy activos a la hora de promover la iniciativa de gobernanza del agua, y con el PENUMA, por ejemplo, otro de los casos con los que estamos trabajando. Pero, desde luego, si tenemos que hablar de un programa emblemático en materia de agua y saneamiento, ese es el Fondo de Cooperación de Agua y Saneamiento. Aquí me acompaña Natalia, una compañera que está trabajando junto con todo el equipo de la agencia muy activamente en el Fondo de Cooperación de Agua y Saneamiento, que, como digo, es una iniciativa del Gobierno de España que, a partir de desembolsar 790 millones de euros en donaciones, ha conformado una cartera actual de más de 1.200 millones. Y, desde luego, este volumen de fondos permite impactar de manera significativa en el aumento de coberturas y mantener un diálogo institucional de primer nivel en el sector, con la posibilidad de incidir en políticas y estrategias sectoriales. Este es el principal instrumento financiero de la cooperación española en el sector, en una región, en América Latina y el Caribe, en un sector clave para el desarrollo y donde la cooperación española, en un sentido amplio, tiene mucha experiencia y un background que hay que aprovechar. Desde luego, el reto del agua es en general de casi todos los sectores, pero centrándonos en el agua, es el de incidir en la colaboración, en las alianzas. Los operadores, desde luego, sois un actor clave en la prestación de los servicios servicios esenciales. Y por eso es interesante, como decía también Janet, es interesante el concepto de alianza de los operadores, cómo se alían para efectivamente prestar servicios más básicos, prestar servicios sostenibles, pero a través de un intercambio de conocimientos, de experiencias mutuas que puedan enriquecer a unos y a otros. Las experiencias nunca son, sabemos que cada contexto es individual, nunca una réplica puede ser al 100% igual, pero en todo caso todas las experiencias de todas se pueden aprender. En definitiva, yo solo quería, ya para cerrar, desde luego reiterar, bueno, la verdad que el gusto de estar en esta magnífica ciudad de Barcelona, no solo porque sus habitantes, la verdad que nos acogen perfectamente, magníficamente, sino porque es una ciudad deliciosa de pasear y, desde luego, marcar el compromiso del Gobierno de España y de la cooperación española en seguir trabajando en el sector del agua. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Laura, for your speech and for being that supportive to GWOPA Secretariat over here and for all your contribution to sustainable development on the global level as well. Okay, finally, we will have a video record from the head of our parent organization, UN Habitat.
I am very pleased that you are here in one of the very nice promises of Barcelona, my city, by the way. I think that the topic of water operators that we are going to debate in this third Congress, it's very relevant, and I will like to insist again in front of you on the linkages between water operators and urbanization. In fact, if we look at the history of urbanization, we always see how early in the history of urbanization the management of water was related to the emergency of the local government. In fact, water has been historically one of the first urban services that it has been there for millenniums. And only in the last 200 years we have seen how other urban services, they have been added to these lists, like electricity, energy, gas, telecommunications, which they constitute the utilities in the urban area. But water has the privilege of being there for many, many centuries. And hopefully we have learned quite a lot about this evolution of co-evolution of water operators and urbanization and urban governments in parallel for many centuries. But let's forget a little bit about history and look at the future. And we are now faced with the increasing and global explosion of the figures of urbanization. We have reached already 55% of urbanization in the world, while we are around reaching about 7 billion people in the world. But we are going to increase this percentage, and we are going to reach to 10 or 11 billion of people in the planet Earth, humans in planet Earth. That means that if we are going to increase the people and we are going to increase the percentage of people urbanized, the figures affecting urbanization are astronomical. In fact, it's expected that in the next 30, 40, 50 years, in the next short historical period, we are going to double the figure of people being urbanized, from the current level of 3-point-something billion to more than 6.5 billion urbanized. This is a huge challenge. But it's not just a challenge in terms of quantity. I think that most important, it's a challenge in terms of quality, because we have seen that the current model of urbanization that is being mostly practiced around the world, it's a model of urbanization that has some problems. In fact, we know that it's a model that is not environmentally sustainable. And that is something that in the climate change conference this year in Paris probably will come up as a clear point. The current model of urbanization is not environmentally sustainable. The current model of urbanization, it's providing economic prosperity and increase of wealth in some parts of the world, especially in Asia. It's very clear that urbanization has been a driver of economic prosperity, but is not providing as much economic prosperity in other parts of the world. And we are seeing spontaneous urbanization happening in parts of Africa, for example, and in some parts also of poor Asia, and in some parts of poor Latin America, where urbanization doesn't provide the kind of qualitative output in terms of wealth generation that we would like to see. Then in terms of economic performance, we have a mixed output. In some parts of the world, yes, urbanization has been successful in increasing wealth, but in some parts of the world, no, urbanization is not delivering the kind of prosperity that we are expecting. And the third aspect is the social deliverables. If we see that urbanization is not environmentally sustainable, it has a mixed output in economic terms. In social terms, we are seeing a very important increase of inequalities. We are seeing, even in the developed world, huge problems of youth unemployment. We are seeing aging in some places. We are seeing, well, quite a number of social issues which are scattered around the world. And this is something that probably it's becoming a huge political issue also, as we have seen, for example, the Arab Spring and other uprisings in several parts of the world, as a proof that in social terms we have also mixed results. Good results in some places, but not as good in some places. That means that in the future, urbanization requires a review. And this is what we are doing in preparation for Habitat 3. We are preparing ourselves to do a kind of evaluation and a checklist of what are the main issues of urbanization. And what it comes out of this evaluation is that we need a profound change on the urban model in order to guarantee the three levels of sustainable development: the economic performance, the social performance, and the environmental performance. And if we take together the fact that urbanization is increasing with fantastic figures, and that we need to improve it in order to achieve these three objectives, well, a real important rethinking in urban practices is required. And my question to you is how water operators are placed in this debate, given that you have, as water operators, such a long history of living together with local governments and on interacting with the local governments. Even in many places, the water operator is there even before there's a local government. When we think about the improvement of urbanization, we always come to three basic questions that needs to be improved. One is the rules and regulations, the legal framework of urbanization, since good urbanization goes with the rule of law and with certain agreed conventions that makes the city deliver and the city perform. Without rules and regulations, the city becomes a forest, and an awful forest, urban forest, wilderness. Then rules and regulations are a basic constituent of good urbanization. And I think here also water operators, you know that, because water operators, you depend on good rules and regulations. The second point that we approach from the urbanization point of view is urban design and urban planning. Urban design and planning, it's a fundamental element for a good urbanization. Without it, with the spontaneous urbanization and planned urbanization, we usually obtain an urban fabric which is doesn't deliver. Then we need, in terms of governance, capacity to plan, urban plan. And here is where the linkage with water operators is also very important. How are you linking with urban planning? How are you teaming up with the local governments in order to improve urban planning? A city which is well planned, it's a win-win situation. It's a win for the water operators because you have bigger size, you have more value, you have more, you can deliver more with less investment. And also, of course, it's a win for the population and for the local government. Then urban planning is not just a question of the local government and the community. It's something that I will like water operators to be more involved. Third basic pillar of urbanization is financial design, municipal financial design. We cannot run a city without a basic financial design, and I don't need to stress how important that is to you, because water operators and in general utilities, you know how important is the sound financial design for your you being able to deliver your services. But what is not as clear, especially in many parts of the world, is that the city also requires this financial design. And it's very important that you help also the cities, especially in the emerging economies and the least developed country, in our endeavor, in our effort to convince them about the soundness of even the initial financial design to be there in order to allow for the urbanization to deliver. With that, I will like to finish in order to convey to you the message that we need to invest in this win-win relationship between water operators, urbanization, local authorities, in order to team up and create the virtuous circle of prosperity and well-being for our citizens, hand in hand, urban service operators and local governments. Have a good meeting and also, if possible, enjoy a little bit Barcelona.
Okay, thanks a lot. Please help me also giving a hand of appreciation to all the representatives of our hosting. Before moving to the panel, I would like to say a few words, I would like first to say that once again, it's a great pleasure to have you all here. And both, by the way, in this room and in the room opposite to us, because we have our colleagues are in the room opposite to us as well. Actually, our small team, together with some key partners, they worked very hard and over several months to pull this event together, and it's very exciting to see it materialize, really. We know that many of you have very important jobs and that you have taken time off from to be with us over here. And some of you came from very far away. I'm not sure whether we have anybody with us. I think we have somebody from Australia and some other colleagues from the Pacific as well. So we are honored to have you all here, and you are most welcome. First, I want to express our thanks once again to our hosting organizations and our supporters. The government of Spain and the city of Barcelona, who are, we are very grateful to for supporting us to implement our mandate and to make this Congress happen as well. I would like also to make mention of OPEC for supporting this Congress participation and for supporting our operational work through the OPEC Fund for International Development. Also, we are grateful to the DGIS, the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for supporting the development of some of this Congress content as well, and our knowledge management work in general. Finally, I want also to acknowledge the São Paulo Art Nouveau site, the beautiful site that we are in today, and the site of our secretariat. And we are very happy to be able to welcome you over here today. So before we begin a very interesting panel discussion on the Sustainable Development Goals, and we heard about them a lot already, I would like to tell you a little bit both about us and about why do we hold this Congress every 2 years. As representatives of water and sanitation service providers, as well as different organizations that support them, you have a very important role to play in the world. As you can surely all testify, utilities get little recognition compared with the importance of the services that they provide. I mean, usually your work often goes almost unnoticed until a service fails and there is a major outcry. It's not always a glorious work, of course. And yet, as we've heard already, and we will discuss hopefully later, we'll discuss more later this morning and until the end of the week, the provision of services of water and sanitation by the operators is extremely important. And certainly for the people in your towns and cities whose every activity depends on these services, but also for our collective global future. So it is our hope through this Congress to connect the concrete concerns facing the utilities with the related global challenges, such as the climate change, water scarcity and quality concerns, and human health and development in general. So we want to shed light on the importance of the operator's work by showing how the daily work of utilities can influence and help alleviate some of these major global challenges of our time. Of course, you already noticed that we are rolling some manhole photos that we have been collecting for the past almost a year, because we want to symbolize this with the utility work. And we want to symbolize also the how unrecognized this is, and especially sanitation. So as you know, the Congress is mainly themed around the Sustainable Development Goals that will be discussed and hopefully adopted in their entirety next week in the UN's General Assembly in New York. If you look at the SDG text, you will realize that water is essential to achieve all of them, all the SDGs, all the goals. But of course, in this Congress, in our Congress over here, we will be looking specifically at the connection between the operator's work and the proposed dedicated water goal, or goal 6 of the SDGs. Now, since this water goal looks not only at access to water and sanitation as the MDGs did, but also at water governance, water quality, resources management, and resilience, we have chosen the Congress themes that reflect all these aspects to highlight the many ways that the operators' work is connected to the achievement of these goals. So I hope that you can see the themes around the SDGs on the screen over there. But we are now talking about the SDGs, or the Sustainable Development Goals, but back a decade ago, when the world first committed to a concerted effort to increase access to water and sanitation through the Millennium Development Goals, a group of eminent experts was gathered by the former UN Secretary General, and I'm happy that we have some of them among us, including their chair. They were gathered by the former UN Secretary General with the mission to advise him on how to ensure that the world would not fail these goals. This team, the UN Secretary General's Advisory Board on Water and Sanitation, or UNSGAB, scanned the world for known solutions and promising approaches that, if given enough attention and if they are scaled up, could help the countries in achieving these goals. Now, UNSGAB came out with a set of actions embodied in the Hashimoto Action Plan, which was launched during the World Water Forum in Mexico in 2006. And the very first recommendation among them was basically to help water operators help one another through not-for-profit water operator partnerships. And this was the birth of the WOPs movement. And why WOPs were considered that important at that time? Because the majority of the world drinking water, it comes from public operators, but many of these operators have been struggling at that time, and they are still struggling, actually. And capacity, UNSGAB was quick to note, was a significant obstacle for many utilities. And at the same time, collectively, the utilities around the world, they had the solutions to their major challenges. So UNSGAB also noticed that some utilities are already getting together, or they have been already getting together to support one another. And they saw that this support was being given not as the tendency had been for the past decades or the previous decades, by taking over the utility management altogether to implement the needed changes, but by supporting the resident staff and enhancing their capacity to implement these changes themselves. And that was much more sustainable. So they also saw that the helper, or what we call the mentor operator, was doing this without profit motive, but by finding other internal motivations or incentives to support or to provide this support, by attracting new talent to the sector and by simply contributing to the development and access to water and sanitation and the MDGs at the time. So they also noticed that this was working, and with more systematized support, they reasoned that this approach could make a major difference. Now, since UN Habitat was requested by the former UN Secretary General, Mr. Kofi Annan, to set up a global mechanism to support and scale up the practice of WOPs, and we launched the Global WOPs Alliance in 2009, the community of operators committed to sharing their experience and expertise with one another has grown significantly. And today there are nearly 200 partnerships in our growing database, and there is many more to collect, actually. Our database is far from an exhaustive list of WOPs that happened and are happening in the world. So we know a lot more about what makes WOPs work, actually, and we are better able to assert what makes a much better effective WOP. And you know, this slide over here, it gives a general idea about WOPs that are happening on the global level, and I hope that it shows that most of the WOPs are actually intra-regional, and they are South-South cooperation arrangements. Now, of course, the gathering today actually is, you know, it's a small show or where we are in the WOPs movement. And I'd like to give you a small picture about us today. We are more than 400 participants in the Congress, in both rooms. And we are coming from 80 different countries, or more than 80 different countries. I think by yesterday we were 82. We are mostly public operators, but we are also development partners. We have representatives of governments at national, regional, and local levels. We have among us donors and IFIs. We have research and learning institutions. We have water associations. We have private operators and companies. And we have representatives of civil society organizations and labor unions among the sector, or within the sector. Definitely, the diversity of the WOPs community is one of its strengths, and we are proud of being able to host this discussion in which such a range of perspectives can be expressed. You know, this is this to show the the diversity of the countries that we come from. Oh, we came back to the older one. Okay. Now, why do we hold the global WOPs congresses every other year? We have three main objectives, actually. The first objective is to give a platform, a global platform, to talk more about utilities and bring more attention to their work and to what they do and to the challenges that they face. This is very important for us. We also want to raise awareness, of course, about WOPs. We want you to know more about WOPs and how they can help you. We want to get more operators doing WOPs and more supporting organizations support them. Governments giving funds to that and political support, donors and IFIs financing WOPs, and more importantly, linking them to their investment programs. Private sector being involved more in WOPs, in practicing WOPs, and in providing CSR funds to implementing them, and civil society organizations and labor unions enriching WOPs with their essential perspectives. The second main reason or objective to hold these congresses is to advance knowledge about WOPs and utilities and to exchange this knowledge. And we think that we have put together a rich set of sessions this time that range from governance issues to equity in access to water and sanitation services, to operational issues such as reducing losses and resource protection, to sessions specifically about the WOPs practice and how they are being done in different regions of the world, and what are the lessons that can be drawn from the practice in the field and from research about WOPs. And there is a lot of research going on, actually. So we hope that everyone has something to learn from, and we hope that we will teach one another. Finally, in addition to the first two objectives, this is an opportunity to continue to build and strengthen the community of operators working to support one another. And several WOPs were established at the last Congress over here in Barcelona, and we will be more than happy if this happens again in the coming 2 days. Now, there is a final specific objective of this session of the Congress. If the SDGs are agreed upon next week, this will already represent a huge leap, actually. But moving to the implementation will be the real challenge. And what role will the utilities have in this implementation? This is a huge question. Meeting water and sanitation access targets will certainly depend heavily on operators. But what about where the SDG targets venture beyond the service delivery? Utilities' role in issues like water resources protection, wastewater management, and climate change mitigation could be really significant. However, they remain gray areas, actually. And they need to be clarified. And we hope that the discussions at this Congress will contribute to the needed clarifications. And before we move to the panel discussion, I have a final point to make about the many of you that are coming from territories that are in major crises. We at the Secretariat, we have seen the challenge it was for so many of you to get visa, actually, to come over to Barcelona and participate in this Congress. However, wherever you've come from to be here today, I think you will recognize that these are challenging times for all the world. What is becoming more clear, and which I think is captured really well by the Sustainable Development Goals, is that on this planet we are deeply interconnected and we need to help one another even more and much more. So we are really glad that all of you are part of this growing movement of global solidarity, and I really wish very nice deliberations throughout till the end of this week. So I would like now to move to the panel. I'd like to thank the representatives of the Spanish government and the city of Barcelona, and I'd like to move to the panel discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for